She's like a sickness in my brain, a vision standing by the window pane. She ripples through the blinds and leaves me in a daze. It's in the way her body moves me, the way she grabs me and intoxicates, until the signals in my mind forget to operate. Fragile skull. I take my pleasure from my alcohol. She'll never give you any time at all. She just comes and goes, you know, and
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and thank you for joining me for another Coffee and Crime Time. I know I said I was going to take a little break, but life goes on and things don't stop happening. And today we're talking about a case that has been a mystery for a little over 2 years. But recently, there have been some new developments. We're talking about the Bakersfield 3 case, which happened in Bakersfield, California, where 3 young people who appeared to be connected all went missing or died within the course of 1 month. On March 23rd, 2018, 34-year-old Micah Bakke was reported missing. His friends kept calling his family because they hadn't seen or heard from him, and they wanted to know if his family had. His mother, Cheryl, attempted to file a police report, but claims she got the runaround from the police. Not even 2 weeks later, on April 8th, another young man, James Kallstadt, was found shot and killed in his mother's car in southwest Bakersfield. His mother reported that he had just been helping Micah Bakke move just 2 weeks before Micah had gone missing. The two mothers got together and compared stories and timelines, feeling there must be a connection. James' mother, Diane, told Cheryl that something wasn't right, and she believed that the boys knew the same people and hung out in the same circles. Cheryl Bakke said, quote, "We started comparing notes. Sure enough, there were far too many similarities to be comfortable with." A few weeks later, another young resident of Bakersfield disappeared, 20-year-old Bailey Despot. Bailey was last seen in the front yard of a residence she shared with her boyfriend at the time, a man named Matthew Queen. It seems before she went missing, her circumstances were deteriorating. She'd been married prior and gotten a divorce in the spring of 2017. After this, she began to hang out with a new crowd, doing a lot of drinking and using drugs. In the summer of 2017, she was arrested for drunk and disorderly conduct, but the charge was later dismissed. Now, I have seen it reported that she was arrested for this drunk and disorderly in front of Micah's house, but I only saw that in 1 or 2 places, and I don't see it reported everywhere, so I'm not sure how much fact there is to it, but I thought I would mention it. In August of 2017, she was reportedly sexually assaulted at an apartment complex, and in December, she was arrested on felony weapon charges. She pled guilty to reduced misdemeanor charges and was sentenced to 3 years probation. This same month, one of Micah Bakke's arms was found in a duffel bag at Hart Park in the Kern River. The rest of his body has yet to be recovered. After her issues with the law, Bailey moved in with Matthew Queen, and a few months later, she was gone. She stopped posting on social media, and no one could get a hold of her. Now, it turned out that in one way or the other, all 3 of these individuals were affiliated with each other, and they came to be known as the Bakersfield 3. When Bailey went missing, her parents put up flyers with her face and information on them, and Cheryl Bakke saw one of these flyers. Her husband Lance pointed out that he had seen this young girl before and that their son had known her. At this point, Cheryl reached out to Bailey's mother, Jane Parent, and all 3 mothers formed a group focused on finding out what happened to their children. Jane said, quote, "I'm hoping my daughter is alive, but my mama heart tells me something is different." It's been 2 years, and for all this time, there have been really no leads. These 3 mothers have been working together to bring justice to their children, feeling that they were all experiencing the same level of loss, the loss of being a parent who's missing their child, whether that child is gone or dead. And all of these disappearances and death are surrounded by mysterious circumstances. There have been no arrests. There have been no leads. There have been no breaks in the case. They all lost their children, and none of them knew what had happened to them. They knew there was a connection, but they really had no idea exactly what that connection was. And knowing what we know now, I'm sure they never could have guessed. Let's talk about Micah for a moment. His father, Lance, described him as someone who would walk into a room and light it up. Lance said, quote, "I'm sure somebody would say, well, Lance would light up a room when I walked into it, but no, I wouldn't. Definitely wouldn't. But Micah really would." Micah's nickname when he was a child was Stats because he would give you statistics on everything. He loved football. He was an active member of the debate and forensics team. After a year of college at Harding University, he joined the Navy but was discharged shortly after for reoccurring issues with growths in his throat. He returned to Bakersfield where he got married, had children, and started down the path of a career in banking. He began as a teller, but he worked his way up the ladder, training and working hard to become a broker and a financial advisor. According to his family, his work was 99% of his life. However, according to his father, Lance, the last 2 years of Micah's life saw him experience a dramatic personality change. Lance believes that his son became addicted to prescribed pain medication after going through a bad separation and undergoing multiple surgeries on his throat. Lance said, quote, "He was very afraid for his life and involved in some things that, at first, I didn't know what they were. And he had never misbehaved before, so when he would tell me, I'm afraid of this guy and this guy in this group or whatever, I would think he was paranoid. He always thought someone was following us in the car, so I thought he's paranoid, and I didn't know how much of it was real or how much of it was exaggerated in his mind by any kind of drug use he may have been using at that time." Then Micah told his father something that Lance still cannot believe to this day. He said, "I'm putting together guns. I'm going here and putting together guns for these particular people." Lance claims at this time he thought Micah was lying or exaggerating. Now he wishes he had taken him more seriously.
Why are you doing that? If you're doing that, stop. Just stop. Just get out of there. If you're this afraid, just stop. And I can't do that. I can't do that. He was afraid if he did that, disappeared, having owing money or something like that, they would hurt his family.
Lance said, "My son was mixed up for the first time in his life with something illegal. He's a grown man. He's had his own family, separated from his family at the time. So it's logical for the police to think, yeah, he's out of town. He's hiding out." The family decided if the police weren't going to take them seriously, they would have to look into it for themselves. Lance's youngest son was putting out feelers, trying to figure out who Micah had been mixed up with, and someone told him that he needed to talk to Bailey.
He came to me, he said, they said something about Bailey's parent, and I said, I don't know who that is. And he said, I don't think it's a person. I think it's like a gang in Louisiana or something. I said, Luke, I don't think you heard that right. But we didn't know who it was. And I think within a week, I saw that she was missing in Bakersfield.
And Lance thought something had happened to Bailey because she knew what had happened to Micah. Let's talk about James Kallstadt now, and it's actually a really, really sad story. I mean, they all are. But James's daughter, Cameron, has been very vocal about what it meant to her to lose her father. Her mother died in a car accident when she was just 16 months old, and she was raised by her grandparents, though she did see her father often. He would pick her up for sleepovers, they'd stay up late, watch movies, and every time they watched a movie, they would bake these cookies from store-bought cookie dough, and they burnt the cookies every single time. And now Cameron says she can't make cookies without burning them because she doesn't like the taste of them if they're not burnt. Sadly, though, when she was in high school, she realized that her father had a drug problem. During an unexpected visit to his house, she saw crushed up pills sitting next to a rolled up dollar bill. She didn't bring it up at the time to him, but she noticed he began to pull away from her and call her less. So as a result, she didn't reach out as much either, and they grew apart.
That was one of our main talks. You do not get yourself involved in drugs. It is not okay. He was clear-headed, and so when he started getting involved in this, it was crazy. It was like we went from having this great relationship to I just fought so hard for him. I felt like I never fought so hard for someone to love me, I felt like. And it turned so dark.
Then, on the night of April 8th, 2018, James's younger brother Ryan was at the house of a friend when he claims James called. And when the homeowner hung up with James, he informed Ryan that James was not welcome at his house. Allegedly, he told Ryan that if James did show up, he was going to get his boys and have them come to the house strapped. According to Ryan, it seems that James did in fact come over, and after he left the house, he was shot and killed in a drive-by shooting. Ryan heard the shots and ran out, where his brother died in his arms. Ryan appeared on the Dr. Phil show, where the host, Dr. Phil McGraw, asked him why he wouldn't tell the police if he knew who had killed his brother. Ryan claimed that if he knew who did it, he would say something, and he even asked to be given a polygraph test if people don't believe him. James was described as a creative entrepreneur who could sell a dollar bill on the side of the road for $1 million if he could just get 5 minutes with you. So for the past 2 years, we have just thought that one person was the real target, perhaps, and the other two just knew too much and were collateral damage. But these 3 people were combined to make the Bakersfield 3. Now let's switch gears and talk about Matthew Queen, Bailey Despot's boyfriend at the time of her disappearance. He's already been behind bars for a long list of charges, including kidnapping, burglary, manufacturing an assault weapon, possession of a firearm by a felon, and resisting arrest. Police say that Queen committed a kidnapping at gunpoint in January when he was out on bail for gun-related charges, meaning he was not allowed to be carrying a weapon. He allegedly knocked on someone's door, accompanied by 2 other suspects, and they were let in by a roommate. Matthew Queen then went into the intended victim's room and stood over him while wearing a bulletproof vest and holding a handgun. The victim was held at gunpoint and forced into Queen's car. Apparently, Matthew Queen thought this man had snitched on him to the police. So this Matthew Queen guy, he's pretty bad. He's bad news all around. No questions asked, right? At this point, Matthew Queen was not named as a suspect in the murder of James or Micah or the disappearance of Bailey, but Bailey's mother thought he was definitely involved somehow, thinking once again that maybe Bailey knew too much or had seen something and he had to step in and do something. That brings us to May 27th of this year, just this week. The Kern County DA's office has announced that they believe Bailey Despot and her boyfriend, Matthew Queen, conspired to murder Micah Holsenbake. They have both been charged with conspiracy to murder and torture Holsenbake, as well as with the actual torture and murder, although at this point it's unknown still where Bailey Despot might be or if she's even still alive. Kern County District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer gave a press conference this past Thursday and said, quote, "This complaint that we have filed alleges 34 counts. The dates involved are December of 2017 through July of 2019. The charges involve murder, conspiracy to commit murder, torture, kidnapping, threats, manufacture of assault weapons, and other weapons charges. Counts 1 through 5 deal with the murder of Micah Holsenbake. Count 1 is murder. Count 2 is conspiracy to commit murder. Now, a conspiracy is an agreement with 2 or more people plus an overt act done in furtherance of the conspiracy. Count 3 is torture. Count 4 is conspiracy to commit torture. Count 5 is kidnapping. Counts 6 through 12 are against Matthew Queen only and relate to assaults against other victims, 3 other victims to be exact. Counts 13 through 34 involve various charges, mostly against Queen, but some against Bailey and a third person. This third person is Matthew Tyler Van de Castile, and he has also been charged with kidnapping and conspiracy. The DA alleges that Matthew Queen used Matthew Van de Castile's detached garage at 3029 North Half Moon Drive in order to extract information from Micah. The document says that Bailey Despot and Queen arrived with Holsenbake, zip-tied his hands, and then Bailey went into the apartment to get a knife. There's also indication that both Matthews, Queen and Van de Castile, researched afterwards how to dissolve a human body. The conspiracy to manufacture assault weapons charges have been filed against all 3 parties, as well as the victim, Micah Holsenbake. Matthew Queen faces the penalty of 50 years to life if convicted. Bailey Despot faces a maximum of 25 to life if she's ever found and brought to justice, and Van de Castile faces 16 years. During the press conference, a reporter asks if they can assume that Bailey Despot is alive and in hiding, or if they can assume that she's deceased, and Zimmer responds that they can't really assume anything, and that there is information to suggest both might be true. She's unaccounted for, and because she's unaccounted for and not declared deceased, she's been charged as a criminal defendant in this case. As far as motive, Zimmer says this will be established at the preliminary hearing. Since Bailey is missing, I do have a feeling that these 2 guys probably turned on her, so we don't really know exactly what her part is in this whole situation. As far as the third member of the Bakersfield 3, James Kallstadt, the DA's office claims they have no evidence to show that his death was linked to what happened with Bailey, Micah, and the two Matthews. So it seems at this point, the Bakersfield 3 has become the Bakersfield 2. Okay, so who killed James then, right? These past 2 years, we've been thinking all of these cases have been connected, and now come to find that the DA's office doesn't believe they are at all. It may allow us to look at his death in a different light, but there's so very little known about his death and it remains unsolved. However, the story of how James took a bad path is very similar to Micah's. It seems that he was injured at one point and was prescribed pain medication, which he became addicted to, which turned into an addiction to harder substances. All we really know about that night he died was he was leaving the house of a chiropractor who was an associate of his, a house where allegedly he wasn't welcome, and a silver sedan was seen in the area driving at a high rate of speed near the time of the shooting. This chiropractor has since agreed to surrender his license because of drug and gun convictions, and he appears to have been convicted on September 11th, 2018, 5 months after the death of James. I'm not going to give you the name of this chiropractor because I'm unsure of how he's connected. You can find it. It's available if you Google it. But I'm not really sure if he was ever looked into. Considering, according to the story that James's brother told us, he was the guy who said if James came over, he was going to call his buddies and they would be packing. I'm sure the police have done their due diligence there, but if everything that's being said about that night is true, it's definitely more than a little suspicious. The timing is very suspicious. But once again, this is assuming that the story James's brother told Dr. Phil is true. And it does seem like there might be some truth to it, considering that this chiropractor was later charged with drug and weapons charges. What does connect the Bakersfield 3 still, to this day, is the path that their lives all seemed to have taken. It appeared that they all came from families who loved and supported them, didn't financially struggle, yet they all took a bad turn somewhere along the road. Bailey used to call herself a flower child. She wore 70s style clothes. People who knew her said she had the greatest smile and the greatest laugh. But in 2016, she ran off to Vegas to marry a boyfriend without telling anyone. After that marriage ended, Bailey's mother says Bailey wrecked her car, lost her job, and although she was trying to get her life back on track, it just spiraled out of control. She became involved with older men, one of them being Matthew Queen, who was twice her age. Micah Bakke was described as being loyal, genuine, caring, always helpful, always kind. And in fact, when Micah's mother reached out to Bailey's mother about the possible connection, Bailey's mom remembered Micah as someone who would occasionally help her daughter out. It seemed that they were friends.
Micah and I were friends. I hadn't known that he knew my sister.
When Bailey's sister Caitlin met Micah, he was working as a banker and living a clean life. She thinks Micah crossed paths with her little sister in the Rosedale drug scene just as Caitlin began to lose touch with him. But Bailey hanging out with Micah wasn't a concern. In fact, Bailey's mother believes that Micah tried to help Bailey get out of a new relationship that Bailey said was abusive. Ultimately, in August 2017, Bailey sought a domestic violence restraining order against her then-boyfriend.
So she dealt with that, was around bad people in that relationship.
A year before he disappeared, Micah was laid off from his bank job after going on disability leave related to depression. The last time Micah's mother saw him, she was dropping him off in a bad neighborhood near Kern Medical Center, and she said she got a really bad feeling. She didn't want to leave him there, and she tried to convince him to go to dinner with her, but he wouldn't. He called her on the morning of March 17th, asking if she would pay for a hotel room for a friend of his, but she said no, which upset him. She said, quote, "He was upset at me that I didn't care. It was kind of a manipulative anger, and I wasn't in the mood to go there, so I didn't. So yeah, I've regretted it. I still wouldn't have had the money to do it, but I still regret hanging up on him." And it was the last time that she would ever hear his voice. James Kallstadt had once been an avid surfer, an entrepreneur, an inventor.
One of the more memorable things about James Kallstadt for loved ones is his entrepreneurial spirit. From owning his own skateboard shop and getting a patent for his invention, torch trucks, to less mess bibs, Kallstadt found success early on in life.
He left behind his teenage daughter, who has just broken my heart when I hear her talk about him. And I can't imagine what it's like to be so young and lose both of your parents. She gave an interview with KGET News, and you can clearly see the battle going on behind her eyes as she talks about how hard she fought for him, how she felt when he turned to drugs and she'd lost him before she even really lost him. But she said she still always had hope that she could help him, she could reach him. If she supported him enough and cared about him enough, he would turn things around. And whoever killed him took that hope away from her.
But I worked so hard. I was working so hard on everything I could do to make him get better. And I wanted that so bad for him, and I always had a hope. I always had a hope for him. I was hanging on to hope, and whoever killed him took that away from me. Like, I don't have that anymore. I don't have hope. He's not gonna come home. To wake up in the morning and not think, like, was he scared? Like, was he scared when that person was shooting at the car? Like, what was going through his mind? Did he think, like, oh, Cameron's gonna have to lose me? Or did he think that he was gonna make it? It's so scary for me to think about because I didn't want him to hurt anymore.
She's so young to be having these thoughts about what was going through her father's head after he got shot. She worries that people see him as just another addict who got killed in pursuit of his habit, and they won't care. She wants people to know that this wasn't her father at all. He was so much more than a man who made a few bad decisions. He was her father. He was her life.
It takes a certain person to look somebody in the eyes and kill them. It takes a really terrible person who I feel bad for. I feel so bad for the person who killed my dad. I don't hate him. I don't care about him. I hurt, though, for him. I hurt so bad that somebody could have had it so bad in their life to where they can take another human being's life. I want that person to look at me and see me and, like, really see me, because that person took away everything from me.
What definitely seems to be the common thread in all of these cases is drugs. And when I research these true crime cases, I want to know as much as I can about the people involved, especially the victims. I want to bring to you their lives, who they were to the people around them, almost as much as I want to bring you the facts and the evidence of the case. I have some personal experience with caring for someone very deeply who is addicted to drugs. And it was very tough for me to go through these family accounts, hear how each and every one of these people had family who were deeply affected by the turn that they took in life, the decisions that they decided to make. And I really think that's why Cameron's story about her father, James, tugged at my heartstrings the most, because I was listening to her talking, and I've been in her shoes. I've been in her position, and it wasn't my parent or anything. I don't want anybody jumping to conclusions and posting that I have drug addict parents on guru gossip. But it was somebody that I cared about with all of my heart. And I had to watch for years as they struggled with addiction, relapsed, stole from me, stole from their own family, and battle this demon that had taken over their bodies, their lives, and sometimes their souls. And I knew this person didn't want to be in this position. And I can't tell you how many times I had to drive them to rehab, check them in, only to get a call that they'd left. How many times I took them to, weekly groups after rehab, and how many times I would have to get calls from the woman leading the group saying that this person had just walked out in the middle of the group. And I was going to college at that time. I remember it was a very stressful semester because I'd be sitting in class and I'd be getting texts saying that this person I cared about, who was telling me that they wanted to get help, and I was going out of my way to do everything I could to help them and overlook the things that they had stolen, the money they had stolen, the ways that they had hurt me and everyone else in their life. And I was making an attempt to get them on the right path. Almost as soon as I would drop them off and leave, they would leave. So there's a great amount of betrayal, but there's also a great amount of responsibility on the person who cares about a drug addict. You don't want to turn your back on them because you know that they could end up killing themselves with this habit. But you also don't want to turn your back on yourself and continue to put yourself in toxic and unhealthy situations where you're the one getting hurt. You're the one being betrayed. You're the one trying to get a coffee at Dunkin' Donuts with your debit card when you just got paid yesterday, and suddenly they're telling you your card's declined because somebody drained your bank account. That's you. You're dealing with this, and there's nobody there to help you because the person who should be helping you is the one you're trying to help, and they're in no position to help anybody at that point. It's true what they say that sometimes you have to let these people hit rock bottom because they are the ones that need to make the decision to get better. You can't do it for them. And I think that's what some of these families struggled with. They didn't want their children, their brother, their sister to be doing these things and potentially ending up dead. But they also knew that at some point, nothing they were doing was helping. And that is a reality that I think many people in America, in the world, go through, not just drug addicts, but the people in their lives. I think it's oftentimes a silent struggle. I think it's oftentimes an embarrassing struggle that you don't want to tell people about. You don't want someone who hasn't experienced what you're experiencing to look at you and judge you for trying to help someone who clearly doesn't want help or won't take it at that point. You don't want to tell your family because they're going to worry about you and then they're going to judge this person. You can't really talk to anybody. It's awful. And your greatest fear is that something like this will happen, right? Something that happened to Micah or Bailey or James, that your loved one will end up dead or missing and you didn't do enough. So this is a very sad case. Now, as far as Bailey Despot is concerned, once again, I don't want to jump and start speculating about how she was involved. And I do think that a lot of the information the police are getting are coming from the two Matthews, right? Because they're both in custody at this point. Matthew Queen's been in jail for a while. But maybe they found something that connected Queen to Micah's death, and they brought that to him, and then he was like, yeah, sure, but Bailey helped me. Now, that's just my speculation. Like the DA said, we'll know more during the preliminary hearing. We'll find out more about the motive and exactly what happened. However, if Bailey was involved, and it obviously does seem like she was, I think that it was probably done under the manipulation of Matthew Queen. Maybe she was on drugs. Maybe Queen was providing these drugs to her. Maybe she was doing whatever it was that she had to do to get drugs or to keep herself safe. And because she was a part of this, we may stop looking at her as a victim. But she is missing. And in my opinion, because she was there, because she knew a little more than maybe Matthew Queen wanted her to know, it's very likely that she's not alive any longer. I mean, how could this young girl go in hiding for 2 years and nobody's ever seen anything from her? She'd have to get a new identity. I mean, we've gone over things like this in cases before. It's not as easy, especially now, to just disappear and become a different person. You know, back in the day before there was social security numbers and driver's licenses and things like that, yeah, you could just become a new person if you wanted. But now, in order to get a job, you really do need to have some sort of identification. So I am worried about Bailey. I'm worried about what may have happened to Bailey. And I'm worried about the fact that if she is alive, she's probably not just walking free, hanging out and enjoying her life. There has been rumors that she's been trafficked. There's been rumors that she is being held somewhere. I don't know. Once again, all of these things are rumors, just things that people have said over the years. But I would definitely feel better if I knew where she was or if she's alive or dead. I'm sure her mother would feel better as well. And just imagine the shock of being Bailey's mother and thinking that this whole time she was, you know, just a part of these mysterious circumstances, disappearances. The other two people that disappeared around the same time as her end up dead, and Bailey's still missing. And of course, as a mother, you're going to think, my daughter's not alive any longer. And you're going to wonder, what happened to her? What did she go through before she died? And then to find that all this time she's been involved, like it's like reliving it and having that shock and that horror and that pain all over again. So we really do need to be, I think, compassionate for everybody involved, except for Matthew Queen. Because like I said, indisputably, a really bad guy all around. No questions about this. We're not on the fence about it. But I do want to know more about what Bailey's role was before I make my decision on, whether or not I'm just going to slam the gavel down on her and throw her in the same boat as Matthew Queen. Now, ABC News in Bakersfield did just post this article. It says court documents show Micah Bakke sold and manufactured an AR-15. It also details a connection to Bailey Despot along with her ex-boyfriend Matthew Queen. According to the district attorney, Despot and Queen helped Micah Bakke generate a plan and execute a gun sale in March of 2018. According to the investigators, they uncovered Queen had the equipment and ability to manufacture the AR-15 that Bakke himself actually sold. Grammar-wise, this is a very poorly written article. So if I'm stumbling over my words, it's just because I'm trying to put them where they should naturally be. According to investigators, they uncovered Queen had the equipment and ability to manufacture the AR-15 and that Bakke himself actually sold it. The papers also state Bailey Despot said she was the one who would advertise the gun sale. Documents also show at what point investigators believe plans might have changed and include the murder of Bakke. Matthew Van de Castile, according to the court records, is the man Despot and Queen asked to use his garage to extort and extract information from Bakke. Officials also believe the garage location is where Queen, Despot, and Van de Castile ultimately tortured and killed Bakke. I mean, sometimes they spell Micah's last name wrong, and then they spell it right later, so I think this was maybe typed up hurriedly to get it out and be first, but we all know how that goes. Thursday, we spoke to Bailey Despot's mother, Jane Parent, who said she was shocked by the news, but that this new development would not change the relationship she built with the other mothers who are considered the Bakersfield Three moms. According to Parent, her daughter Bailey Despot was charged in another gun case in 2017, but that her daughter Despot took the fall for Queen in that case. Parent said Bailey went to court regarding the gun case and that Bailey told her it didn't go well. Parent said her daughter Despot had disappeared a short time later. Like I said, man, Matthew Queen, bad guy. So that's all we know for now. When the preliminary hearing happens, I'll be paying attention to see if we have some more information. But until then, this is kind of where we leave it. But I would really, really hope and like for the Bakersfield police to reinvestigate into the death of James. I do want to give a quick shout out. I got a comment on the Suzanne Morphew video, and it's from Amy Glatt, and it says, "Can Steph fans help bump this comment up for her to see? I'm a single mother, and my son and his friends love her. They all graduated at the top of their class with scholarships, but because of COVID, they couldn't walk the stage. They got zero recognition. They are so sweet. It's not even them complaining, it's me. Those are my babies, my kids, and they would be thrilled if Stephanie would give them a shout out. Class of 2020, Barb High School? Barbie? Oh, guys, I'm just going to say Barb. Barb High School, Lake Charles, Louisiana." Oh, Barb is pronounced like barbed wire. Barbed wire? Oh, barbed wire. I get it. Yeah. I need more sleep and coffee. So I was right the first time. A very rare circumstance in my life where I pronounced something correctly the first time. So shout out to the class of 2020, Barb High School. I am so devastated. I feel so bad for these kids who have gone through 12 years of school, right? 12 years of school, and they're just looking forward to that day they graduate and they get to throw their hats up in the air and have this amazing speech and feel motivated and ready to take on the world. And this year, the people who graduated in 2020, the kids who graduated in 2020, that was taken from them, and it's incredibly sad. I feel so horrible. I've been thinking that for months and, just really upset. So hopefully when all of this wraps up and we're back to normal, they all can have some sort of graduation parties. But congratulations for graduating at the top of your class. You are going to do amazing in life. This is a temporary setback. And in a couple of years, when you're out there in the world, going to college, learning new things, meeting new people, it'll just be a very far away memory. I'm really proud of everyone, honestly. Everyone who has had to sacrifice or miss a life occasion during this time. Because I think everybody's handling it very well. Very, very well. Thank you guys so much for being here with me, listening to me ramble. I think I did ramble and go off topic a little bit in this video, but like I said, this case kind of got to me in a way. So I appreciate you guys for hanging in there with me. Thank you so much. Stay kind and stay beautiful. Stay safe always. I love you, and I'll see you next time.
Straight down.